Welcome everyone to the 236th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It's like September 8th and it's, a few minutes past 6. Yeah, who's counting? Obviously
Just
not the timekeepers. So as always, feel free to fire us your pictures, and if you have any questions, fire those to us too. This week joining us, let's start from the middle here. We're gonna go with Fluffy's Eye. Fluffy's Eye from the land of fluff.
Yeah, that's right. We have fluff, we have plushies, and we have chocolate, which we're not going to share. I'm just kidding. We'll share all of those things.
I want all of them, but try not to rub the chocolate into the plushies.
No, the plushies can't have chocolate.
Yeah.
You need special plushie chocolate, which is also a plushie.
Okay, this is just writing down these ideas for plushie things. Our resident Flutterbat snuggler, Artemis Plum.
Yay, I like Flutterbats, they're cute.
Our resident Bat Puncher, Pixie Nope.
How dare you?
Hey, welcome to September 9th, all my Australian friends. Do not worry about the fact that they're lying about the date. They're good at everything else.
We just wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. And up at the top of the list, standing on Pride Rock, trying to, figure out how the heck they actually had a family up there, Alley Clow.
Lots of incest. But on another note.
Yeah, no, that's actually accurate for it.
They don't like to talk about it, but
Have you seen the film theory episode? Pretty much.
and of course we have our ever lovely dead but living. Is he dead? Is he alive? He's here and he's living dead.
Schrodinger's host.
He exists.
Alright. Soldier asked for their picture last, so we will do theirs last. So let's start with the top left-hand corner then. This picture has been submitted by Pokey Fan 000008. I guess there was like 40 some odd people before them to get that sort of number sequence going, or possibly 998,000 people before them.
Always possible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Pokemon fans, so.
I haven't drawn Pokemon today. That's true. I don't want to.
Get on it. So
Do you
yes.
have any questions?
They do not. Their post is what I expected when Rah Rah was leaked. This is the picture. Looking through their through their posts, I don't see anything else by them as far as art they've submitted.
Mm-hmm.
So I have nothing to base this off. I assume this is 100% from them. It reminds me of a lot of bases that floated around for these, but using bases.
Was that.
Go ahead.
There was that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's based off of something that they did in the show. The Pointy Pony style. They did like a sequence with it in the show, and it took off in the fandom.
Yeah.
It was during the Canterlot wedding episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting kind of style, and it's good. I think the main thing here is it's a little bit difficult to get to see the different aspects of it. So, for example, this nose is really quite up high when it comes to pony stuff. Most of the time, I tend to bring my my nose down a little bit. Like, if you look, here's roughly the center of the head, and I tend to bump it down a bit from there. In this case, it also bumps it away from the hair. It just makes that bit of space in there, so it's a little bit easier for it to read. And I did a similar kind of a thing with the ear, just made that a bit bigger. That's all just personal preference, but I like to do that. When it comes to the torso, in this style, it doesn't bump out too much, even if it might do similar sorts of stuff when you're like doing more anatomically accurate drawings. They tend to do like the really clean style where it's just like, ooh. So I just doing that there as well. But it's a good picture. It looks good. I like it.
Mm-hmm. There's a few elements that basically could just use a bit more refining in how you approach doing them, and it all comes down to pen control and line control, and that just takes a lot of muscle memory to get to. So I definitely don't expect it to be like the next picture it's all going to be there, but some things to keep in mind when drawing, especially digital, because digital helps this so much. It's nearly impossible to pull this off traditionally. Zoom in. So enhance. Get onto that line that you want to do. Make it fill your screen so you can take full advantage of the fact that if I do a stroke with my arm, the longer the line I can do, the larger the area, the smoother it can be. And this is going to help you just smooth out all those lines, all those curves that are there, and just get more consistent line control. Very hard to do traditionally because enhancing the image, it doesn't work.
All you can do is move your head closer.
Yes. Or grab like a magnifying glass and go, I've never
be an
seen.
interesting drawing technique. Although I feel like I'd want to have 4 arms if that's going to be the case, or at least 3, so I can hold the page and hold the magnifying glass, and then also draw.
Just get into yoga and start using your feet.
Yeah.
Problem solved. All right. Anyone else got any points on this one? The bow is made out of hair. That is a fair point. I don't know if that was supposed to be the purpose or not.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. Although I literally did design a tiefling character recently that has the hairstyle specifically is meant to represent a bow, but I don't know if this is deliberate in this form or not.
We may never know. All right, let's go on to our
I
next
think
picture.
it looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is by Dreaming of Pony. I'm not going to read it all because it is a lot of text and I am kind of lazy. But
You don't have all day.
to summarize, they did a 3D render first based off of something that Pixie said, and then they sketched over that 3D rendering, and then they refined it down to this. They have problems with muzzles. They are not a fan of muzzles. They hate muzzles, in fact. Everything else looks passable, but that does not... I still have no solid idea in my head of how a properly curved and cute muzzle should be shaped in 3D. You can see I went for a less rounded jaw and flatter top, and it certainly gets the point across. I'd say the shading is actually more or less representative of the shape. Who is eating chocolate in my ear? I'm hungry for the chocolate. Give it to me. Alright, sorry. The less rounded top and certainly gets the point across. I'd say the shading is actually more or less representative of the shape, and I tried to impose, but the shape itself is awful and I don't like it. One of these days. So what it comes down to is they're looking for help on the muzzles. They had a lot of fun on the other shapes. The relatively flattish shading they're okay with because it was somewhat intentional. The idea of it being very harsh lighting. They did additive layers for coloring, which is great because that makes it easy to refine. That's a good method of using digital to your advantage. Yeah, definitely worth reading their notes if you're interested in what they're saying. Let's get on this. So, muzzles. Fluffy, you're good at muzzles. What can you say about muzzles?
They are beepable.
Thank
let
you.
me just get my thing zoomed in. So I'd say this. I mean, I completely understand. It's sometimes tricky to work out how a thing like this looks in 3D. I would say what I would do in this situation is just definitely rely a lot on on taking like different screenshots of the points in the show and the movie at different angles, just to get an idea more about like, because we see them at all sorts of different positions. You can find, if you look up like head angle references, you can find people who have done like to varying degrees of accuracy. Obviously, it's all like subjective. Different pony heads at all sorts of different angles. So those are very, very helpful, especially early on, before you get an idea of like the shapes that you want to put across. So a lot of it depends on taste as well. Some people prefer the muzzle to be very sort of box-like. I prefer my muzzle to be very perky and round, like I'm drawing right now. Don't forget, ponies need a cheek. But, all of this stuff is very variable depending on the styles you like, the tastes you have, and what it is you're hoping to accomplish. But it's really just a case of I can't really sit here and tell you all of the best ways to mathematically create like a wireframe of a character, because you still got to have something to go off of to begin with. It's just a case of learning the muscle memory really, and you're gonna get it wrong. You're gonna get it like not the shape that you want, and then you pull up your references. You say, "Oh, like I think it should look a little bit more like this. I'm gonna move it down. I'm gonna push it out. I'm gonna straighten up the top," or whatever little experiments you need to do in the moment. And then just each picture, it might not be, you might not get it right the first time, but that's a lot of art, is just not having the ability to get something what you want it to be at the moment, and then coming back later, like days, months, years later, and having more ability now to understand things. It doesn't necessarily need to be that long. Depends on how much you are sort of open and receptive to learning. But don't be afraid if you struggle. Just try something. Try putting a muzzle down. If it doesn't work, then like look at people's references, see what different ways you can experiment. It might be that in like the next picture you try pushing it out a little bit. In the next picture after that, you might try rounding it or moving it up or down. Just these little experiments can go a long way, and there's no like rush to getting them perfect in the same picture.
Yeah.
I would say the way I sort of mentality, I always start from the nose, just real quick, and then I'll have like this here is the bridge of the nose. So then the eyes come out from this little point here in the middle, and sort of sit on the face that way. Is how I like to do it. Sorry.
This is This is super cool. I like the using the 3D render and all that sort of stuff. It is super awesome and lovely, and I like it. I do this one. I think the most important thing for me tends to be the shape of the head. So sort of this. When you look at heads, it tends to be sort of neutral, and then it dupes in for the corner of the eye, and then it bounces out a bit for the cheek. And so long as you get that, it usually the head shape tends to look pretty decent. This whole area is lovely. I love all of the curves in here and how it all relates, and I love it, and it's amazing. With hooves, the base of hooves, what I tend to do is I tend to have it be very have them point in a specific direction. So like the front of the hoof, I tend to have that be like a little bit more bulgy out, and a little bit less of this soft curve. I tend to like keep the soft curve for sort of the back of the hoof. So the soft curve for the back of the hoof, but for the front, I tend to have this very directional thing.
Yeah, I
Just
agree.
'cause it tends to show a little bit more where they're facing. Like if you draw this sort of center line, it'll like zoom down, and then this will be sort of the front of it, and it'll be like, if you're looking at it from like a 3D ellipse sort of perspective, it like makes it easier to see exactly where that's facing. But that's honestly something that just comes with time as well, so don't stress too much.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
I know
Awesome.
it comes with time and patience, and experimentation is like not, it's frustrating if you want to just like have some tip that'll help immediately, but That sometimes the best thing you can do is just be on the right course, in the right direction. You can't always rush it.
Yeah. I think as Maze mentions in the chat, these like ribbony things. Oh, like with these ones over here, it looks like they basically just go. Oh, let me use a color that's actually visible. They go here, and then they hit this edge, and then they go straight down, and then they continue on, and then they go straight down again. Whereas over here, it looks like they're curving all around and stuff like that. So you could either add a little bit of a curvy ovary sort of an action over here, or you could possibly do something like this, which is a little bit more, makes it a little bit more obvious that it is going this way. But you know, it's all good. It's all good either way. Makes it a little bit more easy for people to see when they first look at it. I like it. I like this whole using 3D models as references and all that sort of stuff. It's a good way to approach it, because it makes sure that sort of the base of perspective and everything that you're using is accurate and makes sense.
I like doing that for humans with Clip Studio Paint.
All right, we ready to move on? Oh, Fluffy just started a live stream. Oh no, we're watching him eat chocolate like a punk.
Oh.
What a jerk. just banning him from the subreddit.
Everyone.
Just kicking him. Here we go. Oh, I can disable video as an admin? That's interesting.
Yeah, you can disable other people's. Like, you can disable their mics as well. Please don't.
Banned.
No.
You brought this on yourself. You chocolate thief.
Yeah, I didn't steal it. It's mine.
You stole it from not giving it to me. Come on.
We're doing a live stream. I can't mail products to you in live stream.
You aren't using
Is that a
stamps.com.
challenge?
Brought to you by our sponsor, stamps.com. No?
Not
Okay.
heard of that one.
Our next picture. This is by Bradley Boren. Started my webcomics and MLP fandom with an OC as the protagonist. Sketch of how the two princesses were possessed by shadow evil magic entity. They have no questions.
I mean, I love the style you got going on here. It feels very fitting for comic book.
Not overly complex, but there's still elements of wonderful control. Like, oh, these wings, they're so pretty. Minimalistic, but pretty.
Heck yeah, comics are fun. I like it.
Flowy hair. Flowy. I always like when people make the hair interact with the body. It's good.
I mean, the layout reads good to me. I just assume, I guess you're going to do something with these blank spaces because they're going to be big and open, so... And unless you're not, I don't know, maybe find something to put in there. It doesn't need to be too distracting, but just leaving them blank. Unless, I don't know, I could be wrong. Like, just subjective ideas. Because it does look nice flowing by itself.
I mean, you're not wrong. Usually comic panels will have everything like aligned neatly. Usually, I think it wouldn't. Where's my pen gone? Having this short a gap isn't usually a case. If you do have a gap this short, usually you just have that thing where it'll be like a box and then like a slightly thinner box, as it's sort of like leading into this panel. I didn't draw it very well, but you know, if you've read manga, you've seen that sort of thing. Just to fill that space, because it's weird to have a white space. But if you're gonna have a panel this long, might as well just be this long, you know, and then use the whole space. But if you really wanted to have this in the comic, then I would say squashing this down as much as you might not want to do that. So it's really a case of like prioritizing the layout and what you want or need to have in the page beforehand. Well, granted, this still is some of this is pretty sketchy, but it's so beautiful in how you've laid it out. I don't want to believe this is just like a storyboarding. This is like way too nice. Just like sketching little like thumbnails and like really crude looking stick figures just to like establish like, okay, that's what's in this panel. Because getting that layout can avoid messy situations where it's like, okay, where do I put this now then? The other thing you could do, I do like what whoever's drawing
Yeah.
I think is that's a really good idea. You could also maybe cut the panel off like this, just give like a bit of an outline, and then have another panel down here where this Pac-Man is. But yeah,
Yeah.
I like what's being drawn there. Like the idea of it coming over and not having a panel is also pretty interesting.
I tend to,
Yeah.
when I'm like doing my layouts, I tend to have one of the panels sort of be borderless and go to the edges of the page, just because I think it's a little bit more visually interesting.
Yeah,
But the sort of the layout that you're going for here reads well. It goes
Breaks
good,
things up a bit.
especially. Yeah, I love how this one is like tall and it's like the town and that sort of stuff.
yes, that's very nice use of the panel shape. I do wonder where this one comes into it, like narratively wise, because you can see it's like, oh, she's in the tower and there's a shadow. The shadow is coming at her, and then something happens, and then it's like just like a character walking through the streets. I don't know if that's like a time skip.
It's a little bit of a non sequitur kind of thing, or at least it feels like it just from like viewing this page. But in the context of the story, it might be a little bit more.
Because there's no panel here, edges. What might be is that this is actually a completely separate page, like overlaid over the top of this one, and they screenshotted this, and it's just it just happens to count some of this in there.
Well, see, for me, this is how I see the story. The two things that connect these two panels, the bottom one and this whole panel itself, is the moon. So the princess is staring at the moon, and that's when stuff gets, bad. And then this pony looks like they know something. Like they're a hooded figure, very concentrated, looking at the moon. They know something's up. They look content. I'm not content. They look intense, worried.
Yeah.
That's where I can see this fitting on this page, especially
can
if
see
it
that,
leads
yeah.
right into talking about what the pony's going to talk
See,
about.
I think it really is just because it looks like it's like we're seeing a screenshot, and then this is like a whole other page here, just because there's lack of edge here, the lack of distinction from the other panels, or it being really like inlined into those panels, like comics usually are. But yeah, it's just a matter of like playing with layout, because that layout can really control how a story reads or how a panel fits into things.
Yeah, like doing something to really make the moon. You know what? Besides just making the moon really intense there, you could even have a directional thing. Like maybe, I don't know, the moon's doing its magic, so there's like a spotlight really drawing a really bright, ominous moonbeam going directly to the castle to kind of like bridge that feeling. Because I didn't even notice the castle in the background. The only thing I noticed was that moon because of its like so out in an open area and that pony's very concentrated on it. So to have that feed back into itself, I think could be really, really helpful to displaying like the jump in the story.
Yeah, but it all depends on the story. It's hard to sort of have a story and then try to like convey it to someone without text.
Very true.
It takes a lot of exploration and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, lots of different ways you can mess with it.
It's like I've talked before about how like art and visual art and literature are both trying to get to the same place, but from two completely different directions, and both do things that the other one struggles to accomplish or lacks altogether. There are things you can do in art that are very, very difficult to do in writing, or that just would take a lot of effort that's kind of inefficient and wasted, that you can very easily just show with art. And with writing, it's the opposite. They're just things that are difficult to really put across with art with just like a single picture. That you can get much more in depth with writing. It's a difference in perspectives as well. With art, we're typically seeing things from an outside perspective, looking at the characters doing stuff, and writing, you're typically in the mind of a person, or at least experiencing their sort of thoughts as they go about stuff. So it's a very interesting way of seeing the two different mediums and how they interact and bounce off of one another. And I think comics are a really good opportunity to sort of hit that middle space and how they blend together. So yeah, it's interesting seeing experiment with some. I'd be glad to see more and see where this goes.
Yeah, the way you draw your ponies is really nice. I like it.
Very much agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, Soldier Boy. Or specific Soldier Point. You with us, buddy? I guess they can't hear us. Are they on the other chat?
They're muted.
I think they usually deafen when we're doing the stream. I think they just show up to post memes.
Well, no, they posted pictures.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But yes, it is normally memes. Memes all the way down. Just ping
I
them.
think they usually can't be here. They show up later because maybe they're having dinner.
That's what
That'd be
happened
my
last
guess.
time. I think they
Yeah.
Yeah.
either it's dinner or they're sort of just getting off of school or work or something. I don't know, doing homework. I don't know their life. There's the last one. The last one we have to do.
Yep.
I see. I'm having happy accidents with coloring PJs.
You're having accidents in your PJs?
You hear what you want to hear, don't you? Happy accidents drawing PJs, or specifically coloring them. I'm bad with outfit designs and colors normally.
I don't think he didn't unmute.
I don't know.
Just, if I stare down with his mute thing. Wait, maybe as an ad. No. Wouldn't that be the worst? You can force unmute people.
I think you can only force unmute if you have a server muted them.
No, this isn't Zoom.
Wait, is that a thing in Zoom?
Yep. You can also force show cameras, which is super duper fun.
Nice.
Maybe they fixed
Weird.
that now, but yeah, you used to be able to do that.
Oh boy, would that get into a
Yikes.
lot of no, whoever thought that was a good idea, because as soon as there's an underage person on the camera, every school's using Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As soon as there's someone under the age of 18 and you were to force show their camera, you could be liable for child prostitution at that point. That's you could be viewing something that you shouldn't be viewing. Hey, maybe they decided to carry their laptop off to the shitter, right?
Yeah, basically, we were talking about something similar to this on Tree Time this week. Actually, there was, no, I think it was my friend's show on CR, Trademarks Train Work. We talk about silly news titles, and something similar to this came up about how someone was annoyed because something to do with there's a Zoom classroom thing. I think the teacher wasn't present at the time, and there was a kid who's just watching adult content on his TV in the background, and I was just like, dude, put it on a web browser. What are you doing? Noob move. We were talking about the implications of that. It's weird time we're living.
We really need to go back to holding companies liable for their decisions. That type of decision shouldn't have. Whichever manager okayed that should have lost his job. Straight up.
Yeah.
I can only think the idea was meant to be because if you listen to a lot of podcasts that use Zoom, they'll do things where they'll get a caller in and they'll have them held in a state where they're not sort of part of the call, and then whoever's managing the call for the podcasters can pop the person on okay, they're on now, but that's the only thing I can think of as to why that would be a thing.
It's just strong corporate culture. It's the sort of thing where it's oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool to let admins do whatever they want with people in the call? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's go without thinking about it.
Oh,
because
Oliver
obviously
Yeah.
managers are the most important thing.
Those managers deserve to lose their jobs too.
Welcome to the political drawing school today.
Yep.
Hey man, I'm
Uh,
still bitter at my old manager. Still.
oh yeah.
It's been a year.
So Solder doesn't have too much that they want us to focus on. They say it has a strong perspective, like things in the distance are small.
Well, hey, if they don't want us focusing on a lot of things, they came to the right place. We cannot focus on anything.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't see what you mean.
Is cute ponies. I like.
Yeah.
They're very cute.
So, your proportions are very odd. Generally, MLP proportions, like, okay, let's choose a color that makes sense here. We're going to go with green. Yeah, generally, MLP proportions, when we're talking a hoof, that is about half of a face on the small side. Generally, it's actually 2/3 of a head, so they can't actually cover their, like, they can double cover their face with hooves and just completely take those giant marshmallows and cover them up. If we go standard MLP proportions, even if you're going for, like, horse-like proportions, horse hooves are still actually quite sizable, depending on the breed and species and if the hooves have been trimmed recently. But even still, they're still quite sizable, and I would still enlarge them more, which means widening up the arm, which would also mean widening up the rest of the body. Now, the only time this isn't going to hold true is if we're talking the MLP babies, where they are just these little stick figures with a giant tennis ball of a head. Or not even a tennis ball, it's like a medicine ball. It's just huge.
It's a watermelon.
Yeah. That's the only times I would say it would, like, at least in MLP, that they ever have the wonky proportions of very small hooves and very large heads. But when they enter the CMC age or older, they all get to this 2/3 half hoof to head size. And that generally carries on through the rest of the body too. I would also like to note ears. Ears exist on both sides of the heads. Very common thing. A lot of artists forget them. I still sometimes forget them, just like I sometimes forget the other legs. But believe it or not, they do exist. So just make sure when you're doing that undersketch that you're just doing the full undersketch. I like to push people to do everything in it, including the stuff they won't see. Just a few simple lines of what's through the body, such as, hey, the shoulder and legs are sitting here. It's, all font. Why am I saying here? You can't see me doing arm things and hiding them behind my body here. It's not a webcam. You haven't...
I can. I have a great view.
Is that why there's a little lens inside of Fine Line's eye?
It was just like the Zoom talk we were talking
Ali's
about
always
earlier.
watching.
Well, this all makes sense. Anyway, as I was saying before being derailed by thoughts, yeah, the draw everything through it so you can see what's behind the pony. Because a common thing that will happen in art is you'll lose track of where something is, and you just sort of make it up for how it ends. There's a famous picture that rolled around for a long time of an anime arm sticking through and then coming up through the bottom of the screen, like wrapping around it.
Oh my god, yes.
It's a great example of an artist losing track of a limb and just sort of YOLOing the rest of it in.
Working this picture that I'm drawing on the side while we're critiquing, I picked it up again today, and I like the sketch. I knew they wouldn't be correct because it was just a first draft, and I just ballparked everything. But like the arms, one of the characters were like wrapping around something as they're like holding it to them, and they're like completely in the wrong place. The elbow is like completely in the wrong place, and so it's exactly that. But like, you got to ballpark stuff before you can be like, hey, that's wrong.
Yeah, I'm just doing some sketching to the side. I think that it's kind of the thing that I would probably focus on is just the whole bodies, and looking at the heads in proportion to the whole bodies. In your style, the heads are quite big, and if you wanna keep that sort of thing, that's all good. Just need to figure out which aspects of the style you want to keep. But I can't. Well, I see the head there, the hooves coming out the front here. When it gets to here, I don't see too much more of the rest of the body, like this full thing that I would sort of expect. Kind of expect to see a little bit more of the structure underneath there, but it's all good.
There's a lot I still want to work out with the doodle I've been doing to the side, but this is a moment where there's a lot of things going on, and I would need to spend time sketching it out and figuring out everything and how it all interacts and references. Reference.
What
I
was
need
that?
my references. You need your references. We all need our references. They're wonderful. Go get them. People have done this before. People have drawn things hugging. People have drawn ponies riding on ponies' backs that are
People
Not
have
even not
hugged.
safe for
Also,
work.
horses exist. People exist, and hands exist.
I wonder if
But
there's a picture of a horse sitting on a horse.
I just, probably, probably a photo manipulation, if nothing else. Like I was just having to Google. I was trying to use the Clip Studio Paint 3D models people earlier on for. I'm trying to have like this images from like the perspective of like someone coming into the room. So I wanted like the hand on the door at the side as they're like coming into the room to sort of illustrate that. And I was trying to find. I googled. I couldn't seem to get the hand to look right using the 3D models. I would just trace over it, and it would look awful as soon as I turned the model off. So I tried like googling like hand pushing door open, and there's just tons of images of people just like open it, just like a hand opening a door, and you can find references like this. But I still couldn't find one that was exactly right. So I just went and I pushed a door open and took a photo of my hand and traced that. So go find a horse and take a photo.
Make the horse hug another horse while sitting on the back
Yes,
of that horse.
exactly, and paint its main rainbow color and give it wings. And you can get all the references you need.
And remember, you don't need references of horses. I highly suggest cats. Much more amusing references.
Yes.
And if the internet is anything to say about it, there's more pictures of cats on the internet than humans, even with Instagram existing. So get your cat references on.
Get your cat and just make it do things and take photos and put it. You can get reference images and Instagram followers.
Come on, kitty. I need references. Do cute things.
And then it yells at you and it's like, no, fuck off. Give me food.
No, give me food.
Bonus, there you do. You have angry cat references. Or angry upset horse. Or pouty horse.
Or your cat trying to claw its way out from the depths of hell from behind the sofa like mine was doing earlier.
See, that sounds like a very amusing picture to draw of a pony.
Yes, it very much would have been if I had any way of capturing this footage.
Just replace your eyeballs with cameras.
Yeah, I'll have to do that next time I'm considering like cyborg upgrades.
There you go. Alright, anyone else have anything on this?
Art and picture is good. Keep showing us stuff because it's fun to see the different stuff you're doing and the ways you're progressing and stuff. Keep on drawing.
Yeah. It's really adorable and it's really awesome to see you keep drawing and doing art. And like, I just saw you're doing free requests for everybody. So that's really nice to spread that around.
Yeah.
Alright. Anyone else have any other art they'd like critiqued? Any other questions they'd like to ask?
Any other cats I'd like to be?
Yes. Any other cats they'd like to pet?
Any other questions on the privacy implications of Zoom and of big tech and America generally? You know, I'm open to.
As the only American here, yes, I apologize formally. I have no control of the situation, but I'm sorry.
Hey, it was a Canadian company that developed the Great Firewall of China.
Firewall.
Yeah.
I just want to say that America has Ali Clo in it, so it can be all.
Aww.
Aww.
It's not that bad. I'm just trapped there.
I heard something. Some group.
Well, I don't see any more posts, so.
No.
Oh?
No, I don't.
There's so many exciting things on today's menu. There's so many things. And I'm like, ooh, fun. Oh, cool.
What's this?
Are
What's
you
this?
ordering me like shawarma? I'll take shawarma. Shawarma? Everyone want to come out for shawarma?
I have
Hell yeah.
no idea what that is.
Wow.
Delicious meat on stuff.
Well,
It's
then yes. You had me at meat.
It's meat, garlic sauce, usually cock sauce, and sometimes some like pickled veggies, all thrown on rice.
Interesting.
Shawarma. It's good. It's one step away from donair. And with that, we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.